Let's bring you this story now. The Black Business Council will today host its annual summit in a hybrid format due to COVID-19. That annual engagement platform between business leaders and government will take place in Johannesburg. This year's theme explores the role of black business in economic reconstruction and recovery during and after the pandemic. The two-day summit will include discussions on the African Continental Free Trade Area, an address by the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, on the vaccine rollout, and a discussion on public procurement and SMME development. For more on what to expect and the many other considerations, let's bring in via our video link the Black Business Council CEO, that's Kganki Matabane, who joins us now in Johannesburg. Dr. Matabane, great to see you. Thanks very much for making time for us here on Newsroom 405. Look, I'll start with addressing the issues that often come up every time there's a summit of this nature. But I think this question is more pressing given the numbers we received yesterday. How do we ensure that such engagements don't end up just as talk shops, but actually work to change the material conditions of people on the ground?
Morning, Ayanda, and the viewers at home, and thank you very much for inviting us. We all know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we had to even adjust and have this session and this summit in a hybrid format to ensure that we accommodate everyone else all over the country, but also we comply to the regulations. Precisely that's why we are having this summit, to ensure that we look at how then do we make sure that we reduce the figures that were mentioned by Stats SA, for example. If you look at 74% unemployment for youth, that is a ticking time bomb. If nothing is done about it, we may have a challenge in even sustaining the democracy that we have. So when we look at the issues that we're discussing, we are not theorizing. You're seeing we're bringing seasoned business people, who are bringing government ministers, senior ministers, to at least come up with solutions. We don't want to talk about theory and all those things. We want to talk about solutions to say, how, for example, how do we make sure that we create jobs? How do we make sure that we sustain and support small businesses? How do we make sure that businesses have access to funding and then access to markets? You see, we've got a lot of other big private sector companies. The issue is to talk about how do we incorporate the small businesses in the value chains so that we can then be able to create jobs and then reduce the unemployment rate that we have. How do we, for example, take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area? We've got the Secretary General of the AFCT, of the African Continental Free Trade Area, who's going to be live here. We want to then say, since he has been there, what progress has been made? How then can we come as business in general, and in particular black business, to ensure that there are opportunities that are created in the continent to again deal with the issue of unemployment and economic growth.
Sure. If I can come in there, Dr. Kganki, I'll admit, I mean, the people who are going to speak stretch across a variety of sectors, including, of course, the world of politics. We'll speak about that in just a moment. As you approach the summit, what is your reading of the state of organized business, specifically in South Africa?
I think we are in a much better place compared to 2-3 years ago. Hence, you see, we even have the Vice President of Business Unit South Africa on the panel. So we are working very, very well together. We just need to be more united. We just need to have black business on its own also be more united and working together. But we are working much, much better together at the moment as we speak.
Right. I'll tell you why I ask. I mean, among those who are to speak is Tourism Minister Mamuluku Ngubane, who I'm sure you know is currently engaged in some kind of court battle against, I think it's AfriForum and Solidarity, over the disbursement of the tourism fund. This fund itself is meant to see through transformation agendas essentially within the sector itself. Do you get a sense, with this court battle in mind, that there is still a whole lot more to do to get everyone on board when it comes to the nature of transformation and how it's going to unfold in a country like ours?
Yeah, we fully support her. We've had various engagements with her, and we think she's doing a good job in terms of making sure that the tourism sector recovers, and the black businesses who were mostly and seriously affected are also assisted with the fund. So we will engage with her further and see how we can perhaps even join as the friends of the court when the matter is taken to the court to ensure that we provide the necessary support that is needed, because we cannot 27 years into democracy, we cannot be misdirected to be kept busy with issues that are not necessarily taking us forward. So we need to support her. We need to make sure that we push transformation, and those who are not for transformation, we then need to make sure that we deal with them, even if we have to go to court. That's what we'll do.
Do you get the sense that there's a unanimous sentiment about how transformation is meant to take place in our country? There's enough agreement on that score?
Yeah, I think there is. If you look at the laws that we have, the laws were passed by all the political parties, but there are a few elements that are trying to take us back to pre-1994, and I think that we cannot allow to happen.
Let's speak about what perhaps many people are looking forward to most in some sectors, and that's the kind of support that a summit like this can provide ultimately for SMMEs and developments insofar as that is concerned. I mean, from your reading of the lay of the land, are SMMEs still the viable vehicle to drive home economic transformation, given the dynamics in our own economy?
Yeah, there's been proven all over the world that if you want to grow the economy, you need to support small businesses. Just to give a practical example, if, for example, Ayanda and company is given a big contract, you will have no option but to appoint more people. So that way you'll be able to then grow the economy and grow the tax base. But if you give the same contract to a big company, what they're going to do, they're just basically going to utilize the current capacity that they have. So they're not going to be compelled to create jobs. So it's important that we support small businesses. And hence, if you look at the program, we've got for people like the IDC, we've got Development Bank of South Africa CEO, we've got the ABSA, we've got financial institutions that are supposed to be supporting small business. We want them to come with practical examples, and post the summit, we will have small sessions with them and invite members to come who can then come with practical solutions and say, this is what I want funding for. And we want to be the conduit that can then facilitate those type of engagements so that access to funding happens.
The intentions are obviously noble. We've spoken to some owners of SMMEs here on our platform who say for some reason it doesn't feel like that trickle-down effect is necessarily taking place in desirable ways. Where do you think the ball is being dropped? Where are we falling short?
Yeah, I think what is needed is coordination. So we were speaking to some of the financial institutions. I think the announcement may be made soon, where we want to have a central point for accessing funding. So, for example, when you apply for funding to NEF and IDC and PIC and Standard Bank or ABSA, there must be one entry point where even the form is the same. You don't have to fill a different form when you go to a different institution. So we're working on that type of a thing, so that when you apply for funding, you put it in one pot, and then all the funding institutions then they can come and look at your funding application and give you feedback.
Right.
So that we have a much coordinated approach, because at the moment you have to go to one bank, they give you different forms, you go to the next one, you go to this, and you're supposed to be focusing on growing your own business, not focusing on administration. So a coordinated approach will be able to assist the country.
Sure. As mentioned, the leaders of several political parties are among those who are going to speak. Jesse Duarte, I saw, was listed. Gordon Hill-Lewis from the DA, General Bantu Holomisa as well. I mean, with the kind of images that we saw come out of the Pan-African Parliament, how are you hoping that political leaders themselves will be able to come to the party in a context where, you know, there's little, call it, confidence in their ability to change much?
Yeah, remember, political parties are policy makers in a way, because they have their members in parliament. So if you want to change laws and then change regulations, you have to work with them. So it's important that they come and hear and then have a feel of what the black business people are saying. So that when they enact laws, they can take our input into consideration to say, we are 27 years into democracy, but we think we could have been much further.
Yeah.
Had certain regulations and acts being enacted in a certain way, but also be implemented. Because the challenge, I think, that we're facing as a country is that most of the plans that we have are not necessarily implemented. Even the laws are not implemented the way they're supposed to be implemented. So it's important to bring them here so that they can have a feel of how black business is thinking.
Very quickly, given how much time has lapsed, I mean, you've mentioned how old our democracy is. Do you get the sense that they hear you, though, or it's mostly just lip service?
Yeah, I think they do hear us. We get consulted on many things that are happening. But again, if we are not implementing the plans that we have, they can hear us and listen to us. But if there's no implementation, we're not going to get anywhere. Hence, we are bringing together big business, small business, government, put them in one room to say, these are the issues. And we're bringing decision makers, people who can then make the decisions and implement. So, for example, we have the Minister of Health. The intention is to get from the minister that how the vaccine process is going, because without everyone being vaccinated, or the majority of people vaccinated, we cannot reopen the economy fully. So some of the sectors like tourism and others, including the religious sectors, cannot necessarily reopen fully. And that on its own is delaying the economic recovery.
Absolutely. Kganki Matabane, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really appreciate you ventilating these issues with us. Kganki Matabane is CEO of the Black Business Council. Thanks very much indeed once again.